Alright, let's walk through what I worked on in this session. I started by cleaning up the default chess loadout. Originally, the queen slot was still using the healer piece, which worked mechanically, but visually it didn't really sell the idea that this was a queen. So the first change was straightforward. Swap the default queen over to use the enemy queen sprite sheet instead of the healer. Mechanically though, I actually wanted the queen to behave like the healer. No force field move, no special shielding logic, just healing, basic attacks, and supportive AI behavior. So instead of inventing new systems, I reused what already worked. In Godot, this is one of those moments where composition beats complexity. The queen now looks like a queen, but thinks like a healer. That meant updating a few places: the loadout configuration, the piece data, and the AI logic so queens are treated exactly like healers during decision-making. I also removed the force field-specific AI paths so there wasn't any leftover logic firing unexpectedly. Once that was in place, I moved on to player visuals. I added a dedicated player queen sprite sheet so the player queen no longer reuses healer art. This is something I'm trying to be more disciplined about. Even if two pieces behave the same, their visuals should communicate identity instantly. To hook that up, I wired a new animation path in the piece setup code and split the sprite sheet using known X and Y bounds. That's one nice thing about consistent sprite layouts. Once you establish a format, you can automate almost everything around it. Next, I made a small but important polish change. When the player queen heals something, I didn't want the healed unit to flash green and scale up. That visual effect made sense for enemies or NPC healers, but on the player side it felt noisy and distracting. So I suppressed just the green pulse and scale animation for player queen heals, while keeping the projectile and sound effect intact. After that, I tackled sprite sheet slicing more generally. I wrote a script that automatically detects logical split points for 4-frame sprite sheets by scanning for transparent gaps. I tested it on the usurper player sprite sheet, and it correctly found the frame boundaries and content bounds. Once I confirmed the output, I wired the usurper animation directly into the game using those detected values. This is one of those moments where tooling really pays off. Instead of eyeballing coordinates every time, I can let the script do the boring part and just focus on whether the animation feels right. I also added an agents file to the repo to document this workflow. The idea is that whenever I add a new sprite sheet, the expected process is clear. Run the detection script, then implement the animation using the results. Future me will thank past me for that. Finally, I fixed a subtle UI issue. Health and defense bars were visually overlapping character heads, especially on taller sprites. At first it looked like a positioning problem, but the real issue was render order. Even when drawn behind locally, semi-transparent sprites can still blend in weird ways. The fix was to move those bars onto a global render layer that's guaranteed to sit beneath the piece sprites. Same position, same behavior, just drawn in the correct order. It's a good reminder that in Godot, z-index and draw order matter just as much as coordinates. Overall, this was a really satisfying pass. A lot of small changes, but they add up. Clearer visuals, better consistency, and less manual work the next time I add content. Alright, back to the game.